My name is Sharon C. Jenkins, and I am the host of 40 Plus and Flirty. And we're going to have some fun today because the joy of the Lord is in the house. Ah, Joy Soleil is here with me, and she has a background in practical psychology with a connection in trauma and addiction. She credits her life experience as being the most prominent qualification she has acquired, though she also holds a degree in psychology as well as certifications and qualifications in NLP, hypnosis, a multitude of different energy healing modalities, as well as a long time fascination and in depth study of all body systems. The brain and nervous system functions and how it all relates to our sociology, mindsets, culture, and decision making. She is a devout Messianic Jew and sees all matters of the body, mind, heart, and spirit holistically in connection with the greater source. Welcome, Joy.
Thank you. What an intro.
It works because it works. So, I've got a few questions for you today.
All right.
As you know, this is a dating summit.
Yeah.
Ah, and you have a relationship algorithm, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But what inspired you to create such a thing for dating, and how does it work?
Okay. First of all, I'm not a spreadsheet person. I'll just tell you that. But you asked why or how did I create it? Because I was like, how am I getting these duds? I need a system. And so I created this to be able to calculate in numbers. I'm also not a numbers person. I hire a bookkeeper for my stuff. But that way I could see in plain black and white what values were most important to me. I could uh, avoid a lot of issues. I wouldn't even have to go on a date with someone in order to know if they were a match for me. I could learn in the first conversation because I'm focused on what my values are and it's based on a point system. So my I won't get into it right now. We'll probably get into it later, but my aim was really off. I'll just say that. When I started plugging things in and plugging in past flames, then I realized, oh shoot, like I'm really bad at this and I need to get my aim a little better and ask some better questions so I don't waste a whole bunch of time.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, why is it important to identify personal values before entering the dating pool? Why is that important?
Okay, well, first of all, my parents are still married almost 50 years. And
Wow.
I thought, oh, you just get married and then you just stick it out and whatever, you work it out, right?
Mhm.
My parents are amazing, but they're not like the best match. I'm just gonna say that right up front, okay? And kudos to them for being married for so long to each other and committing to that. At the same time, I think that brought toxicity into my perspective of how I was choosing a partner. So I'm like, oh, you just pick someone and then you stick in it. But that wasn't necessarily the case. And so what I learned was I was like jumping monogamously from person to person and not understanding what I needed until decades later. And I'm like, oh, at some point I realized for me, I need to be with an artist. And then so I married someone that was like, he's a musician and he can play songs, but he didn't have the artist's mind. What I needed was the philosophy, the
Oh,
way that he thought and connected with the world and other people, right? So that personal value, when you make a list of your personal values, what you're saying is, this is what I need in a person to match me and complement me. It's not to complete you, but it's to complement who you are and where you are. Because, and these are long-term values. It's not like, we don't care about the same things when we're 40 or 50 as we do when we're 20, right? We're like, oh, he's cute, or she's pretty, or whatever. It's not exactly the same. It might look more like, I want someone who takes good care of themselves. And I want to be able to see that through, like, there's certain systems or things that they do for themselves. Money is important. We care more about money later on in life. We're like, well, I don't want someone who has like a 500 credit score and doesn't have any money in the bank and has a bunch of debt, right? We have different values. So when you write out the values, it gets you really clear. If you don't know where you're headed, how are you going to know where you're
Oh,
headed?
that is so good. So I'm pulling out my magic hat of questions. So be prepared.
Okay.
What are the top personal values you believe singles should be tracking when dating over 40?
Oh, well, we just don't have time to waste. So we have to get clear. I can't say that enough. So it's going to vary from person to person. So, for instance, in my relationship algorithm, it's a list of the top 10 values that you must have in another person. Of course, it says more about your values than someone else's. So if someone doesn't match that, you're like, nah, next, and you can move on. But the values are going to look different. So for me, it's really important that I'm with someone who shares my worldview and my desire to create shalom on the earth. That's not going to be your value necessarily.
Mhm.
I also in the top 4 values, like those are non-negotiable. So you would list them in priority order. One of my top 4 was, I must have someone who wants my children as their own. That if you don't have children, that's not going to be a value of yours. So it really does vary, but it's like you've got to know yourself before you can create this thing. Otherwise, you're like, I'm just trying to find a match or have someone who makes me feel good. Look, anyone can make you feel good, honey, for at least a few months. And then reality is going to kick in and you're going to have your first fight or whatever. Or this, tough times come. You have to know that this is a person that you can continue growing with and healing with for a lifetime. And so you want to make sure you're growing in the same direction.
Oh, I love it. This is so good. Okay, let me get another question. How can someone tell if their values align with potential partners during the first conversation?
So if you have them listed off, now I made it top 10. Initially, I took a piece of computer paper, 8.5 by 11, and I wrote real small all the way down in columns, front and back, and what I must have in a partner. Showed it to my best friend, and she went, "Oh, that's an appropriate length list for someone your age because we have more detailed needs that we're like, oh yeah, I didn't like that," and we kind of know based on the flubs, right? So when you write it down and you can see it, now you know. So if you don't know, say for instance, for me, I need someone who's very spiritual and I need someone who wants my kids. Well, those are 2 drastically different values. So in the conversation, I'm talking like phone call or you just met. You can
Mhm.
find out, do you have children? Oh, so do you like children? There's things you can ask that you can sort of navigate the conversation. There's some things you can't determine, like you're not going to ask their credit score in the first meeting, right? But you can ask them questions about their goals and aspirations and find out if there's somebody that's laying on their mom's couch or if they're a go-getter, so there's all kinds of ways you can creatively, because you know what you want, now you can ask and navigate it from there.
And you don't have to become the sacrificial lamb in order to get what you want.
Oh, please, Sharon. No, we're not doing that anymore. That is a teens, 20s, maybe you're still trying to figure it out in your 30s. We do not do that anymore. No, you don't. That's childhood stuff that comes up, but we no sacrificing, no compromising you. You
Mm.
be you. you know who you are. And if somebody doesn't fit around that, it's not meshing, it's okay. That's why I say move on next. Move on to the next one.
Love it. Okay, another question. Can you give us an example of a powerful question someone can ask to uncover values quickly?
I'm going to ponder the question for a moment.
Mhm.
And also, I'm going to notate that there is an importance in body language.
Oh.
I Somebody trying to love bomb you or throw it all on real thick right away, red flags, don't even need to have the conversation. They're trying to schmooze you or impress you. We're beyond impressing now. You either are or you aren't. And if you have to
Mhm.
impress me, you're probably not. So, this first and foremost, the question, and there are probably a few, I would say one of the most important questions you can ask someone is, what mistakes have you made in past relationships that you wish, if you could do it again, you'd go back and fix? If someone answers that in a way that is humble and, oh gosh, yeah, I've made some mistakes, you can tell so much just based off of their answer. One, if they're self-deprecating, no honey, you're going to end up being their mommy or daddy, don't do it.
Mhm.
um if they are so down on themselves that they can't handle, then if they're like, I no, all my exes are crazy, well, guess what, you're the next crazy ex if you continue this conversation, so see your way out of it.
I love it. Okay. Ready for another question?
I'm ready.
How do you know if you're really ready for your dream mate or just dating for loneliness or pressure? You know, the family, the holidays coming, and you need to bring somebody. But so they won't ask the question, when you get married, when you having babies, when you okay.
Well, first of all, it's nobody's business but mine. um so what you're asking is, how do you know the difference between when you're doing it for pressure or to fill the loneliness or not? If you don't need somebody, but you want them and you want to build something with somebody, that's a good sign. If you are comfortable being alone and you can sit in your own thoughts without having to put on the TV, scroll social media, listen to music, and you like yourself, that's a
Mhm.
good time. If you don't like yourself, there's work. It's okay. There's work to do though, because no one is going to love you more than you love yourself. Anyone can only love you as much as you love yourself. So
Mm.
your self love really has to be continuously growing. And
Oh,
that's how you know the difference.
that is so good. Can you give oh, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. What role does emotional intelligence or faith play in value-based dating?
Okay, well, those are two different things, emotional intelligence and what was the other one?
Value-based.
Faith. The faith. So,
Mhm,
faith and emotional intelligence. Well, I mean, if you don't have any emotional intelligence, you are not ready.
mhm,
That's why we did what we did when we were 20, and we don't do that anymore. Uh, as far as faith, it I think it can play a role. It doesn't necessarily have to, but if you don't like the results that you've gotten in the past by dating people who didn't share your faith,
mhm,
then it's probably time to try something new and date somebody that's within your faith. Now, you can date somebody within your faith that doesn't share the rest of your values.
mhm.
So that's why we write them down and we make sure that they match.
Oh, I love it. I love it. How does the algorithm help you avoid wasting time on incompatible matches?
Again, you're getting really clear. So you're writing down your top 10 values that you must have in someone. Then a brief description of what you mean by that, because that can mean something different to everybody. This is where it's like a little contract with yourself. I love contracts even with my friends because then I know, oh, we don't forget we can stay friends because we have a contract. Okay. So this is how you stay friends with yourself. You list off these values and then they're actually numbered in points from the top one, which is highest priority, 10 points, all the way down to the bottom, which is 1 point.
Oh, wow.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if I could do this, anybody could do this because I'm not a numbers or a spreadsheet person, but here we go. So it's a total opportunity of 55 points. Someone would need to at least get 85% points in order to be a compatible match for you. That would mean 44 points. So when I say my aim was off, I plugged in all my past flames prior to my first marriage, and I didn't, no one had more than 11 points. And it was not my ex husband that had 11 points, by the way. So I went, oh, shoot. Well, then I've been dating something off of something that is not my values. What have I been dating off of? I'm not sure, but my neediness, I got to fill a hole in my life or whatever, or in my heart. But when we do it this way, we get to see. So anybody starts getting us feeling things, now we go, the numbers don't lie. They don't lie. You go,
Mhm.
oh, shoot. Either they got 27 points or they don't match my top four non-negotiables. Those are non-negotiable to me. I'm not compromising myself. So the algorithm helps you be able to evaluate that very quickly. And there may be some things that you just don't know. So then it does require a date, but probably almost like 80 to 90% of the things on the list you could find out really fast without a date.
Oh, I love it. A telephone conversation or even a Zoom.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, can someone's dating algorithm, evolve over time? If so, how often should it be reviewed?
It can evolve over time. It certainly is going to be much different than it was when you were 20 or 30.
Hmm.
I would say it would be worth a look about every 5 years, but hopefully you don't need it that long.
I Okay. All right. So, what are some common mistakes people make in early dating conversations that sabotage compatibility checks?
Ooh, sharing too much too soon,
Yes.
unloading your past exes and relationships and how they went down bad. That's a bad energy. That's a bad way to start a relationship. You don't need to talk about those things up front. If you need to still talk about them to unload it, go to your therapist. Don't do it on dates when you're first dating somebody. I think that's probably the worst one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. What are your go to tips for setting healthy, I'll say it again, for setting healthy boundaries while still staying open to love?
Well, you can always loosen up the reins later, but it's a lot harder to tighten them up. So, in the beginning, we don't need to be pouring our heart out to everybody. We definitely don't need to be having sexual relationship immediately because that's a way to distract and deflect from the true values that you're searching for. So that too soon can cloud our vision of what we're really after. Even if it does, there's still hope. That's why we have the algorithm, our little contract with ourselves that we come back to. But I would say, like, we can't be putting it all out there right away. Be your full self. You can be your full self without unloading everything that's in your heart. We do need to take some caution because there are people that are looking for vulnerabilities in others to exploit them so that they can get what they want. If you're
Mhm.
not in it just to get what you want and you're in it to collaborate with a partner for a lifetime, then there's no rush in unloading your heart.
Ooh, wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. I love it. Okay. Okay. If someone has a dream mate list that feels unrealistic, how do you help them revise it with grace?
Well, I imagine that probably a lot of what you're saying is like it has to look a certain way, right? Like
Mhm.
he's got to be X amount tall and he has to look like this. I am not, I'm married very happily now, not to a person that I ever would have imagined I would have been with. He's a musician. Obviously I wanted the artist, but I didn't imagine it being like a rock musician and he looks like a rock musician. Uh that wouldn't have been my choice, but also with the algorithm, looks weren't even on mine. That wasn't a part of my value system. Someone that takes care of themselves was on there, so
Mhm.
that was more apparent. But gentleness and grace, as far as your list, we want what we want, but in some ways, when we make a list, we can barricade ourselves by overdoing it. Like my initial list that was 8.5 by 11 front page, multiple, front and back of the pages,
Oh,
multiple columns. Now she said it was an appropriate list. She was jesting because I had been through a lot of things. Okay. So I was being very specific, but we don't need a list that long. And, and we don't need to keep ourselves. Sometimes the list can be so intense that it's a way to keep ourselves from protect ourselves from love because we're afraid of it because we've been hurt by it before.
yeah.
So it's okay, be gentle with yourself on that. That's why, hey, I give you an algorithm with only 10. Make it easy.
I love it. I love it. Okay. In your opinion, what does dating with intention look like in today's world?
It is a jungle out there, so it's a whole different ball game. Dating with intention is to keep your self in mind. That's something that we really miss when we're desperate for love. As I
Mm,
mentioned, you can't have someone love you more than you love yourself. So if you give that to yourself, you won't be desperate for it.
mm,
And then you can take your time with it. So it can be a slow process, but it can happen quickly when it
mm,
happens.
mm. That's beautiful. Okay, last question. You ready?
I'm ready.
What's one thing you want every attendee to walk away with after your workshop?
Mm. One thing I say to my clients all the time is because we come into relationships with such complex, we have different levels of trauma and things like that. And the way we see ourselves and the way we feel about ourselves is not attractional for our perfect partner.
Mhm.
And then we get into relationship and we have conversations or arguments, disagreements or not disagreements, but some of those things bubble to the surface, the way we feel about ourselves, the insecurities that we have. Insecurities are, it's normal to have those. But my question that I pose to my clients and to myself on a day by day, hour by hour basis is, especially when you feel those insecurities and you're in the line of judgment potentially, is will you love yourself even if they won't or
Mm,
if they can't?
mm.
And if you can do that, you're going to be okay.
Wow.
And that's attractional.
Mm,
That's something that people are drawn to and a
mm,
partner will be drawn to.
mm. Oh, wow. This has been an awesome, awesome interview. And I want you to know that, oh, I appreciate your sharing, your gifting with us today. And how do our people, our attendees, reach out to you, get the relationship algorithm? I'm sure they're going to want to be running, running, running to do that.
Best way is to email info at joysoleil.com. Soleil like Cirque du Soleil, Soleil, info at joysoleil.com to get in touch with me.
Well, thank you again, Joy. I love you. You know I love you, girl. And listeners, viewers, let me share something with you. Joy is attractive. Put on joy. Be your comical, amazing self. Just show up. Show up as you. It will make the world a difference. Thanks again, Joy. And there are more sessions to come. Bye bye.